Hari Om, Yoga Warriors, Mickey Space here. So guiding you today through a meditation practice. Meditation, one of the greatest challenges of meditation is to calm the mind, to be able to release from the distractions of the mind. But of course we acknowledge that that's just what the mind does. So our meditation practice is often just finding techniques to acknowledge the distractions of the mind. And that in itself is your meditation. Ultimately, of course, we'd like to find those nice clear spaces. There might just be momentary gaps between the thoughts where there is a sense of stillness and peace, but not to think that that's where we're going to be all the time, because essentially we're working with somewhat taming the mind, or at least acknowledging, noticing what the mind does, how it operates. So this practice is a technique to help hone in the awareness, and it's a very simple one. It's a Buddhist practice, the Buddhist counting technique. So essentially just focusing on a count. Now we can count forwards quite easily, and we can do that without thinking somewhat, and so often not as great a practice, because the mind might be wandering off into distractions where we're still just counting, because we can do that quite, let's say, unconsciously. But if we count backwards, we need to actually bring a little more focus. So this is a practice of just counting backwards, so that the mind is occupied on that point of focus, on that rhythm, on that technique. So your technique is just to find a point. We can start at 50 and count backwards from 50, or it could even be, if that's quite easy, maybe make it from 100. But we'll start together at 50, so we'll work starting at 50 and working backwards. If you've done a full 50 without having any distractions, then maybe for your next couple of rounds, start from 100, working backwards. Now the idea is that once you get lost in your count, and that quite often happens, you could say almost usually happens, then we start again. So let's say you've started at 50, you've got to 29, and then you've been distracted and you've lost count, then we go back to 50. So the idea is to always go back to 50, unless you manage to go through the whole 50 or the whole 100. And then once you've done that, then you go back again and you just keep repeating the technique. So normally you would set a little timer and do it for a set amount of time. 10-minute practice is good. I wanted to make this a whole 10-minute practice. I've been talking already for a few minutes, so we may actually just sit and do 7 minutes or so of the actual practice. But in your own time, practice maybe for a little longer. So finding your seat, comfortably sitting, shoulders back, spine upright. Let's close the eyes. Take a couple of slow, deep breaths. So you're working the count in your own time, and a nice slow count, so it might be starting, let's say, at 50 and 50, 49, 48, 47, and so on. So just maintaining that awareness on your counting. If the mind wanders, it often does, we don't get upset, that's just what the mind does. We come back to the start again. So keep working now in your own time, our counting rhythm. Slowly now deepening your breath and just stopping the count wherever you're at. Notice how you feel, how the mind feels. And then when you're ready, blink the eyes back open. So as suggested, there's a nice little practice, little technique we can use to practice our meditation with. Something to keep that one pointed focus on the count. Practice it any time you like. And any time you like. It could just be a 5-minute practice, 10 minutes, 15, 20, half an hour, as long as feels right. Thank you very much.